What's up, High and Logical? Gabe Baker back again. For those who don't know who I am, that's my name. And for people who do know me, thank you for coming back. I always appreciate you guys. So I got a nitty gritty topic for you guys. We're going to be talking about spiritualism, spirituality. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that. So before I start this, no, this is not going to be a history lesson. No, I am not going to be bashing on specific religions or anything like that. And no, I am not going to be pushing any of these aspects that I have written down onto you guys, because you guys can believe in whatever you want. If it brings you strength, confidence, faith, stability, and comfort, that's all that matters to me, is that you guys feel good about this, okay? I don't have extensive research on this. These are different aspects that I have learned, that I have seen myself. So these are just specific things that I have seen that I'm going to list off you guys, because I find a lot of different truths about religion. I don't think that it's really all about one, but I mean, I can understand of why some people will pick one over specific others, but hey, that's for you to use your discernment for. So my beginning for spiritualism probably started around the middle of high school. I've always been around spiritualism, but I never really was heavily invested into it till about maybe high school. And I wouldn't even say that I was even heavily invested into it until probably about maybe 5 months ago, 6 months ago. But I mean, it's just all about the different aspects that I've learned for myself, because I have learned a lot about myself when it comes to certain spiritual aspects. But like I said, it started more about high school, and that was just because that, smoking weed, and music. And it's not really about to where weed has really gotten me to that point, but it's just because that I feel that when it comes to certain mind-altering substances, that you kind of do have that aspect of, yeah, there is a higher power. We don't know what it is, but you don't really understand it until possibly later. And then when it comes to the music, I mean, that's because I used to listen to heavy metal and alternative metal or rock or whatever, and it kind of switched over drastically to rap. And, I listen to a lot of conscious rap. I listen to a lot of rappers now, but that's just because that I've seen now that there's a lot of different rappers that speak about spiritualism, regardless of what it is. It's just, I see that it's really heavily invested into it. And definitely, the start of me doing YouTube. It's not really that I expected it to really be about spiritualism, and I mean, I still don't to this day, because I see it more about what I believe in, why I do what I do. I have a video on that if you want to go watch that. But one of my friends said, "Why are you turning it into such a spiritual aspect?" And it wasn't really because I thought about it at that, but then I was looking at some of the things and then why I do what I do, and it's just because that some of the moralities that I have for myself, I can see that. I see why. I do understand. But to myself to this day, I still see myself as more of agnostic, and it's not because I don't believe that there isn't something, but there is something, but I just don't know what it is, because I find truth in all this religion, all of these different religions, all of spiritualism. I find different truths that I do believe that all connect, and at least into some way, shape, or form. So to continue off of that, I do feel like there has been a big spiritual awakening when it comes to the consciousness about everybody. Everybody kind of seems like we've definitely have broken that part of where we do understand that there is something, but we're still not all really sure of what that might actually mean. And like I said, we can be pondering that all day for what the higher power, God, universe, spirit, whatever it might be. So, we take that into our own discernment for what we believe in. And I feel like that's all that really matters. That's the same thing of why I just let people believe what they want to believe, because if you have faith in it, if you have strength, if you have confidence, it brings you comfort and stability. That's all that matters. It kind of is sad, though, to kind of think about it, that spiritualism has kind of been very monetized, and not to the point to where I feel that it is a bad thing, but having to monetize it doesn't really make it kind of seem any better. But, I'll take that as it is. I don't really know. What do I really know? Anyway, what do we really know? But to continue on from that, I do have a little bit of a tickle for your mind, and it's about aliens. Now, and it's not really to the point to where I think that aliens would just crumble the whole thing about spiritualism. Actually, I beg to differ. I really think that it wouldn't even bring any destruction to it at all, because it would either strengthen it or kind of keep it to where it is as the same. Because even if there are aliens in our universe, anything like that, that it's like there still is something more. There is still something that still affects us all, that still, like, it could be the laws of the universe, like anything like that. But I don't really think that even aliens would actually really bring destruction to the aspect of spiritualism. But anyway, continuing on from that, I find truth in a lot of different religions, or any spiritualism for that matter. I do. It all really just kind of depends on specific aspects, because a majority of them kind of all teach the same aspect, but they just throw it into a different context. So when it comes to good and moral behaviors, it just depends on what that person might pertain to be good or moral behavior. But it is all really about being about how you are, how you can improve, how you can be a good person for yourself, for others, and how you can be able to make sure that you can spread that in a very conscious way instead of having to be rude or having to think that you need to push your religion onto people, because I don't believe that you need to. Peace. Peace is definitely another one of those aspects to where it teaches about peace in self and being able to bring peace to others and being able to just have peace in your entire area, wherever it might be, even if it is just in your house, in your family, even just teaching it to your children, anything like that. I do feel that that is one of the bigger aspects when it comes to the truth aspect of some spiritualism or religions. Meditation or connection to God, universe, or higher power, that is definitely also something I feel that is very important, that a lot of different religions or specific aspects of spiritualism really teach, just because that meditation I have found is actually really good. Not even if it isn't just something for about spiritualism, but being able to actually feel like you can connect to yourself, feeling that you can actually make yourself calm and actually feel your body, actually feel just relaxed and not feel so tense. You know, and some people do believe that it is a good connection to be able to connect to God or universe or higher power. So definitely another big one. To be able to spread love, find it in ourselves, be able to spread it to others, because that's all I believe about too. Peace, love, and positivity. You know, you want to be able to make sure that you can have the love in yourself so you can spread it to others, because you can't actually love another person if you can't love yourself. You have to make sure that you have that confidence in yourself at all times, that you can make sure that you can love another person unconditionally, platonic or romantically, and just be able to know that you can bring other people up just as much as you bring yourself up. Let's see, what's the next one? Karma, sins, good deeds. I feel like there's a different context about what other specific religions or spiritual aspects that might entail, but I do believe that they all have that same aspect of what they teach about that, to be, good and you'll receive good, or bad and you'll receive bad. To know, like, you might be condemned for the sins that you do, or you might even just be, you might be rewarded for the good things that you do. It all really depends. It just depends on what religious aspect that aspect really is. So small things, what you do for others and receive back, thinking negatively and how it impacts our physical reality. That's more, I feel, in the karma state, because I relate to that a little bit, just because you think negatively and then all of a sudden, like, something happens, you break something, just something happens while you're thinking negatively. And then you're like, well, that's what I get for doing that, but hey, it all depends what people might want to perceive that as. Next one would be all living things are connected. Humans, animals, plants, anything organic. And that's even into the scientific matter of where we're all atoms, we're all made up of matter, even plants, even animals, to where we all have this connection somehow. And that, I feel, is also something that a lot of things is being able to connect us with, is just because of that matter. Using discernment. Oh, no. So that's all the truth aspects for most of those. So then we're just going to continue on for some of the other aspects. It is using discernment on what you believe. So like I said, it depends on the specific person about what you believe in, how you believe it, how you spread it to other people. So, and it's not really to the point of where they or other people really know about being able to know what is right or what is wrong. So you got to use your own discernment about what you believe in. Some people don't go into the spiritual aspect or religion until a lot later in their lives. Some people are really introduced really early into their lives. And then, sometimes they break off from it just because they just don't want to influence on their children or around other people. So, you got to use your discernment when it comes to what you believe in. And that's pretty much about it. So the next one would be karma and reincarnation. So most people understand as karma, even reincarnation, as a good or bad aspect. If you do good, you'll receive good. If you do bad, you might receive bad. Reincarnation kind of has that same way too, that it's all really about what we're trying to learn for ourselves. If we have a specific lesson that we need to learn and we get past that, we'll be propelled up into something different, a different plane of existence, a different way of being a higher being or something like that. And if we do low, we'll be going into a lower vessel or anything like that. Like, it could be an animal or even something that's really low like that. I don't really know how to really explain that, because like reincarnation is not really something I've done a lot of research into. But I know that a lot of people do believe in that stuff, and I for one, could get really far behind that, just because that, I don't know. We'll see about that. But yeah, so good and bad, lessons of the soul to propel us forward or backwards, and reincarnation, possibly coming back to learn a lesson and not make it again. Everybody is karmic to somebody. And I don't make it to where it's like karmic is a bad thing, but there's always a lesson that we are either teaching people or people are teaching to us. And karmic cycles is to understand a lesson that is presented to us. So if we are constantly going through the lesson of why these things keep happening, why are we not learning our lesson? I mean, it takes us to use our discernment to believe about what that could possibly entail. Could it either be just because that you are just, giving too much and you're not giving enough to yourself? Is it too much to where you're trying to, I don't know. That could really be a lot different for everybody, for what they could really believe is karmic or who is karmic to people. So definitely, again, use your discernment for that. Next one would be numerology. So numerology is kind of something new to me, but I definitely know that it's not something that's new. It's definitely not. I feel like it's connected to math. You could connect this to the whole matrix aspect, but we're not really going to talk about the whole matrix aspect, just because that it really depends. But angel numbers, so 999, 888, 777, some appear more to others, and even to the point, even if they're not the same numbers, there's still a lesson that you could learn from that. Numerology has a lot of different things that you could learn from, a 587 of what that can entail. And what you do is you add it up. Usually it goes into a singular digit of 1 through 9, and then there's a specific reason of what that might entail. 8 usually means abundance. 7 means luck. 6 is attaining to your higher self. 4 is divine protection. 3 is divine guidance. There's many different things that you can learn from these things, but even other digits too. Like, there are specific meanings to 14, 25, 33, 77, 587, 1,363. There's a lot of different meanings behind numerology. And so the next one would be astrology. I didn't really have anything written down for this because I thought about this when I was doing my last take of this video. But astrology has obviously been around for thousands of years. We study the stars all the time. We are always trying to look and find things of what the stars might entail, if it even means anything to what it could be happening, if it is a good time to do specific things, even like moon cycles. Moon cycles are the same way. The harvest moon, the waxing moon, and all these other different things. There was a video I even watched about to where, humans are connected more to the fertility aspect of when you can conceive a child and stuff like that. Specific moons might actually have that. And, it's pretty interesting to think about what the stars actually might entail for us, or even the moons for that example. And I am one of those people that do believe that the moon cycles do affect us, even when it comes to, full moons. My mom was always the one to say that your brothers have just been so sporadic today just because it's been a full moon. But if we are, as humans, can be affected by tides from the ocean, and most of the time the tides are usually connected to the moon. So I do feel that there is a connection to that, to the spiritual aspect of what astrology or even moon cycles could possibly mean for us. The next one would be the good morals. So one of the aspects, good morals are self-definition. You have to decide of what is a good moral for yourself. People have different morals for self and what they mean for others. So you can't really define your own morals apart from someone else's morals. It really all just depends. So, you use that as your own discernment. What you decide is a good person for you to be a good person, or what others is a good person, that's all that you decide for. Understanding others is to understand self. Lessons from self and from others. So, as above, so below. This is one of those aromatic laws that I'll be talking about later. But you do understand others. You do understand yourself. And this is, as I was saying, is that it's like everybody's got a lesson to teach everybody. I've learned lessons from a lot of different people. A lot of people have probably learned different lessons from me. So you'd be really surprised about the spiritual aspect I feel that does entail about what you can learn about yourself and being able to understand from other people, and being able to understand people for how they react, how they communicate, how they are able to go about their specific day doing things. So it really all depends. Next one would be ancient religions or mythologies. So everybody should know what kind of that entails. Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Norse mythology, even Egyptian mythology. That one's my favorite because I love Egyptian mythology. I used to be a whole big Greek nerd, but then I kind of got over it when I started looking into the ancient Egyptian mythologies, because I find that one very interesting. But gods and entities are tied to natural things like sun, rain, and wind. A lot of different religions do that. even the indigenous Native Americans, they have a god or entity for a lot of different things. There's a specific one for trees. There's a specific one for bears or animals, and it could just be animals. I'm not really sure if each animal has a specific aspect, but I could see that they could both be, that it could entail that some animals are different from the others because, spirit animals. People connect to snakes, people connect to bears, people connect to spiders, people connect to sharks, dolphins. There's so many different things that it could possibly entail. And so when it comes to that ancient religions have been around for a lot longer than some other religions that we do know. And it's not just because that I think that I know this, it's just because that science does have a good way of being able to prove some of these things when it comes to, fossils, carbon dating, and all these other different things. So, you got to use your discernment for that too. I feel someone who has knowledge more about the ancient religions or indigenous religions would probably be a lot better to hear from than me. So that's why I'm not really trying to be all up about this, just because I really don't know. I think it would be actually very interesting to actually talk to somebody who is from an indigenous tribe to be able to kind of learn all these things from, because that's kind of where, when people go to rehab, for example, that's also kind of a big thing that kind of started my spiritualism too, because my dad went to rehab. But since the aspect of rehab is being able to find a higher power, his rehab was on a Native American reservation. So then he kind of found to where he connected to that one the most. And so that he learned a lot of different things from, some of the Native American people that were from around that area. And I found it really interesting, some of the things that he was telling me that he learned. So yeah, I feel like it'd be pretty interesting to learn some of those things from someone who knows about that religion or spiritual aspect a lot more than me. So the next one is going to be a little bit longer, but it's about the chakras, the 7 chakras. Crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and root. So we're going to start from the bottom up, the root. The root is from the base of the spine, in tailbone, and it identifies with the color of red. And it goes with physical identity, stability, and grounding. So that could be about, finances, basic needs, and well-being, and grounded and secure physically and emotionally. So, there's a lot of things that some people could really entail about what can connect to what. And so then we're just going to continue up from going up. So the next one would be the sacral. So it's right below the belly button, but right above the pubic bone. And it's identified by the color orange of sexuality, pleasure, and creativity. Most of the sacral is connected to your self-worth. So your self-worth of, sexuality, self-worth, your self-worth of pleasure, and your self-worth of creative aspects. The other ones I have are a little bit more detailed just because I didn't think about writing them down. But hey, that's what we learn about, right? So the next one is the solar plexus. So it's the upper abdomen and the stomach. That one is identified by the color yellow. So that one is the personal power, the chakra of personal power, self-esteem, and confidence. The next one would be the heart chakra, center of the chest, just right above the heart. That one's identified with green, love and compassion. So if blocked, put others first instead of their own deterrent or harm. It's the middle of the 7, so it bridges the gap between the upper ones and then the lower ones. It represents our ability to love and connect with others. When out of alignment, it can make us feel lonely and insecure and isolated. The next one is throat chakra, the throat, blue. That one's connected to the color blue, and it's all about communication. Connected to communicating verbally, blocks can be dominating conversations, speaking ill of others, or speaking ill about yourself without thinking, and trouble speaking your mind. So when it comes to kind of clearing these things, like some people do believe that being able to clear some of these things can really actually help you be able to feel good, really good about your body, but also feel really good about being able to, communicate with others, love others, being able to have that self-confidence. The next one would be third eye. We're right between the eyes and the forehead, so right here. That one is identified by the color indigo, intuition or imagination. Blockages could be trouble listening to reality or being a know-it-all, or not in touch with their intuition. When open, people will follow intuition and see the bigger picture. And I always talk about intuition all the time. Not just because, I do feel that intuition it is a sixth sense that most people don't believe that we have, but I do believe that the intuition is a sixth sense that we do have, because most of the time when we go based on our gut feelings or our first instincts, that usually that is our intuition speaking, that is this thing that we want. So, and you also have to be able to see the bigger picture. And that's another thing I really had to learn about some things too, is being able to see that there is always more than to just the one thing that you're focusing on. It could vary from person to person of what that might mean, but hey. So the next one would be crown, the very last one. The very top of the head, identified by the color violet or white, and that's about awareness and intelligence. Chakra of alignment and connection to our life's purpose and spirituality. Blocks people may seem narrow-minded, skeptical, or stubborn. When it is open, it is thought to keep all the other chakras open and to bring person bliss and enlightenment. So chakras are tied into meditation. If most people should probably know that, but usually when you meditate, usually you go through the process of where you work yourself either up or down and being able to open them all up right before you meditate. And breathing is really important to meditating, making sure that you can keep a clear mind. Just because you meditate doesn't always mean that you're going to have a clear mind. So sometimes you kind of just got to let the thoughts flow and just let them go and see what happens. Because usually sometimes you do learn things. Usually sometimes you do, like, you can meditate and think about something and usually you can get an answer. It's kind of the same thing when some people think about the, like you follow, like you're trying to do homework, figure out a math problem or a problem, and then you write it down or sleep on it. And then usually you'll wake up and figure out, what you need to do. That's kind of what I usually think about when it comes to meditation, is that the exact same thing. So the next one would be that the body is a temple. And this one definitely ties into the solar plexus, or not the solar plexus, the chakras, just because that most people do believe that if you can at least keep a really good, healthy body, that most of the time, usually when it comes to your chakras, that you can be able to have a lot of these like blockages be removed from your specific chakras so that you can open them up and feel. But your body is a temple. It is definitely what you ingest, what you put into your body. Are you constantly putting in a bunch of, stupid stuff like a lot of nicotine, a lot of caffeine, a lot of sugar? Are you actually making sure that you can actually digest that properly with good water? I mean, most people even go off to the thing to where even most of our water is not something that we really, really want to drink. But take that as you will. And definitely I feel that the body is something that is also what the knowledge that you absorb. What knowledge are you actually absorbing that's going to be able to help you move forward or be able to actually bring you specific clarity or actually something that is very knowledgeable for you to learn. And so that really all depends on what the person really considers that to be healthy for you to actually absorb. The other thing I put in was tattoos, because some people don't believe that, that putting tattoos on your body is affecting your temple, when I kind of see that as contradictive, just because that there are signs and notices about, specific mummies or bodies that, that could be back from years and years and years ago that still have tattoos. So, and I really think that just kind of depends on the person of what they believe in for that. So take that as you will. And then definitely being able to connect it to opening and clearing chakras, as I said. Excuse me. So vibrations, or the vibe. So I was actually watching a video on this earlier today when it was all about like to where the vibe has definitely been around for a long time, or vibrations, because we definitely know the vibe when it comes to people, when it comes into the room that we walk in, even specific things that we are doing all the time. So reading the room, or other people affecting your own vibe, because I definitely do believe in that too. When somebody is speaking ill or they're just coming up, just spewing a bunch of stuff, that it definitely does affect about how you're feeling. And that's definitely the whole thing that I feel about this, is if it affects how you're feeling and it makes you feel uncomfortable, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Most people obviously want to be nice or not be rude and just let them, obviously be like, don't be telling me that stuff. I don't want to hear that stuff. But you probably want to put that boundary up. Just saying. That's something that I had to learn on my own. It definitely depends on the person about what they're talking about, who they're speaking on, or anything like that. If it's just a good conversation, it's just a good conversation. But if you know that it's not going to bring you anything, you probably shouldn't be talking about it. You probably shouldn't be speaking ill on people. That is definitely another thing too. You don't want to be speaking ill on people, especially if it's people that you care about. We have that irrationality of where we want to speak out on people, even if we are angry, if we're frustrated, if we're sad, but making sure that you can actually keep the good vibes and the good vibrations to know that you can actually keep it up yourself. And even when it comes to how you're thinking mentally, is being able to make sure that you can keep a good high vibration and making sure that you can tell yourself that you are worth of what you want, that you can have confidence in anything that you want to do. So it kind of correlates with either yourself or with other people. But, definitely all about emotions, all of it. Next one is astral projection. Bleh. So I found this kind of funny when the CIA actually released papers on this, that it is real, that it is something that you can do. I can't really say that I have any experience because I actually don't really know, nor could I possibly remember, but it really depends. So obviously most people should know that it's your spirit releasing from your body, that you are able to see everything around you in the room when you are asleep or your eyes closed. I'm not really sure. I'd guess if you are really asleep, but you should be able to see anything around you or possibly even far away, next state, across the country, across the world. I don't know. Can't say that I ever really had experience on that, but to put yourself on another plane, so to speak, that you could be on a more spiritual plane, on definitely a angel aspect, I guess, if you really want to consider it like that. Some people have been able to do so and tell about it. So that. And I also think that there was something that was connected to it. I think it was Buddhism, I want to say. Don't correct me on that. All right, you can correct me on it if you want, but I don't really specifically know if it was connected to Buddhism. Spiritual laws. So laws of the universe, cause and effect, aromatic laws, and emerald tablets. That's going to be a topic that I'm actually going to talk about later because I found it very interesting. Laws of manifestation and attraction. But most of these laws are just spiritual philosophies about humans or the universe. I don't really think that there's anything else that I can really kind of heavily detail on this, but there are a couple of the next things that I'm talking about that will definitely connect to this. So the next one is mental thoughts to affect outlook of life. It is tied to one of the aromatic laws, as above, so below, I think. I could be wrong about that. Or no, it's what you perceive. What you perceive is your reality. So if you're constantly thinking about negative things all the time, there's probably a chance that you might bring that into your physical reality because we're constantly questioning the what if that person does this? What if this project is all of a sudden just going to fall underneath us and we're not going to know what to do? If we're constantly looking at the what ifs, we're constantly teetering about the negative and the positive. Yes, it is a good thing to be able to make sure that you can look at the positives. You want to be able that you have a positive attitude because that'll also kind of help with the law of manifestation or attraction. Because if you see it, you feel it, and let it out, you'll kind of know how it feels. And that's kind of only ties into the law of manifestation. So yeah, think it, feel it, and let it out. Don't let the negative things affect you. Make sure that you're looking at the positives at all times because we are constantly looking at the what ifs. We are constantly looking at the red flags. But if we can at least to make sure that we can look at the things about how they are presented to us, regardless if they might seem negative or not, which most of the time we're probably going to, but you definitely don't want to be doing that. Try to look at it as positive as much as you can. Use your discernment, but try to look at it as much as positive as you can because you really don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes you do kind of need to have that blind faith and blind trust in a lot of different things, and it all really just depends about what it is. You got to make sure you still put in the work to make sure that you have it. That is one big thing too. So don't question about the what ifs of what you want. Others will definitely try to affect your outlook on specific things, and it is only you to make sure that you can look at it from that positive, and sometimes about whatever it is that is given to us that will prove it. However it is presented to us, that'll kind of be the way that it'll prove it. So yeah. Next one is soul ties, connection to others, self. Others reflect yourself, experiences, and what you want. And we'll get into that one a little bit. But ties to others. So connecting vibrations. Most of the time we are usually connecting to people that we do feel like we have a good vibe with. We feel comfortable around them. We feel safe around them. We feel like we have a good boundary between each of us, regardless of what the heck that might be. So I do feel that even sexual connections can be soul ties. I believe that it comes to the point to where sex, usually you're giving yourself to the other person. You're showing them the intimacy. You're showing them the emotion. And it definitely does pretty much give yourself an attachment. So you got to use your discernment for that, but I definitely do feel that sexual connections are definitely a soul tie. Catching feelings, so to speak. Sometimes people all of a sudden have sex. They're like, I'm not going to catch any feelings. And then bam, they end up catching feelings. But yeah, you're giving yourself parts to others intimately and emotionally. Even families, you have soul ties with your family. Yeah, we are brought into this world. We have the family that we are given, and sometimes we have to pretty much love them for what we are. And you should definitely love your family for who they are, what they want to do. But just because that you have your family doesn't mean that blood is always thicker than water. If your family hurts you and your family does not make you feel good, you have every right that you want to not keep your family around. It all depends on the person. It all depends on the situation. But going back to others reflect yourself, experiences, and what you want. It kind of goes to the karmic thing that I was talking about. Others are lessons. We teach other people and other people teach us. It varies of what that might be, but you see yourself in others and coming to an understanding of yourself and others. You see yourself in other people. We constantly are comparing each other all the time. Sometimes we shouldn't be doing that, but we are looking for the things that we definitely do want to see in people, but it also kind of ties into the law of attraction for what you want. If you're constantly thinking about the sexual, sexual lust feelings that you're wanting from people, you're probably only going to attract the people that are only going to give that to you and nothing else. Especially if you're trying to not think about that and you want to make sure that you have a stable foundation when it comes to relationship, even a friendship, anything like that, is that it's like you will attract the things that you definitely want to attract. It all depends about how you can give yourself to others and how others will give themselves to you. So yeah, friend, and just definitely attracting vibrations for sure. So the next one is symbolism and tarot. So onks, crosses, the hops of hand. I got the hops of hand on right now. These are definitely symbolism throughout most spiritual aspects. Numerology can even be considered as symbolism. And I can definitely see that, especially when it comes to what 999, 888, or 777 might mean. That is definitely some symbolism for what it could possibly mean. Like I said, even when it comes to what specific numbers are all tied into and what they mean, they all have meaning. So symbolism. Plants can be symbolism. Animals can be symbolism. Spirit animals, dolphins, bears, spiders, whatever it might be. They all have some symbolism aspect. It depends on the specific spiritual aspect or religion that it might be brought into. Even movies have symbolism. Because I only say this is just because that we are constantly looking in movies and shows that we watch for how we can relate. We try to relate to the hero. We try to relate to the villain. We try to relate to the anti-hero. We try to relate about even like some of the message that movie or TV show is trying to give us. There's a lot of symbolism nowadays when it comes to movies, and we have a lot of it. There is always a lot of symbolism. So part of that is definitely the tarot, as I was talking about. So tarot cards. Tarot cards is symbolism because each card has a meaning, and each card does have a meaning. The Ace of Wands, the Devil energy, the Knight of Pentacles, the King of Pentacles. There's so much symbolism when it comes to each card, but each meaning is different from person to person. It also depends on what the question is that you are asking that tarot reader or the cards that you are trying to do, because each thing means different things for the specific situation. So, and tarot can bring introspection, understanding of other things of yourself or people or specific situations that might happen. Most people will probably believe that tarotism is probably only the thing that it's just things that you want to hear, which, granted, yes, we do want to make sure that we can possibly keep ourselves in a good, positive mind state, that we can have confidence about things, that we can be faithful about specific things, that we know that we are doing a good thing about the things that we are actually doing. But you got to use your own discernment, because when I think about it, if it can give me a positive mind state about it, it can give me confidence, it can kind of give me faith about it, I think that tarotism could be definitely a good thing. It definitely varies from person to person. Not everybody is always into tarotism, but hey, it really depends. So everybody is equal. I never really thought about it as a spiritual aspect until I was thinking about it, that it is definitely part of the good morals. Everybody is definitely equal. I believe it. I don't know if other people really do believe it, but I know that we are definitely trying to get that into a definite collective consciousness, that everybody is equal, regardless of race, color, creed, sexual orientation, that everybody is equal. How I see it is that I base it on who you are as a person. If you are going to present yourself in a good way and good behavior, you're probably a good person to me. I'm going to see you as equal. But if you're going to present off to me in any way where you're showing me disrespect, rudeness, or anything like that, you have to make your own decision about how you go about it. If you're going to show me disrespect, hey, there might be that chance I might show you disrespect. You probably shouldn't be doing that. I believe that you shouldn't be doing that. But if, it really all depends on how you're going to decide about to go on that situation. But yeah, I do believe everybody is equal. No matter what it is, everybody is. Even regardless of what you believe in, what you look like, anything like that. You are equal just as much you are to me. So the next and last thing is mind-altering substances. You probably know where I'm going to go with this. Yeah, certain drugs. But there was a reason why I picked this, just because that it definitely has its placement when it comes into certain spiritual aspects or religions. So, use your discernment for what it is. But when it is used, obviously you gain a sense of spiritual consciousness. And that even could be when it even comes to smoking weed. Like I said, you kind of get that aspect of where it's like, okay, you think that there's a higher power. You don't really know what it is. But how you go about it and how you continue on thinking about it differs from person to person. Some people might see something. Some people might not see something. It just really depends on the person for how it affects them, how they go about it. Some even believe about for how they feel on the inside. You'll definitely be able to see the things that you definitely want to see or don't want to see. But, LSD comes from the ergo fungi, which, thank you, The Last of Us, because I did not know that. It's actually mind-blowing to me that actually I didn't think that it actually came from a fungi. But I know that it is definitely a little bit more processed just because that I've learned about that for sure. And then mushrooms, the magic mushrooms, psilocybin, that is also a fungi. It is also a mind-altering substance to where you can either get a sense of spiritual consciousness, you can see things, or you might not see things. Like I said, marijuana, weed, you definitely kind of get that sense when it comes to the point of where you're using it. You do kind of get that sense of a spiritual consciousness in some way, shape, or form. And then there is DMT. I'm not really sure what that stands for. I can't ever remember. It's probably a shorter version for like the longer version of what the chemicals might be. But that is also a mind-altering substance that is also goes along with this. So with that, do what you want. I'm not here to push that or tell you that you should be doing these things or you should not be doing these things. Do what you want because I do not control your decisions at all. So, to kind of break things a little bit down, these are all things that I've seen and learned. I'm not going to be pushing you to believe in what you want to believe, and you should not be pushing other people to believe what you believe. You use your own discernment when it comes to the things that I have listed. Some people believe in these things, some people don't. Some people are very up with this, some people are not up with this. It all just depends on the person. I find truth in a lot of these different things. Some religions speak about the same things, just in different contexts, and some people perceive it differently from person to person. It really all just depends. So, to finish off, I got some good quotes and a little bit of thinking to go along with them. So this first one is from J. Cole, because I can't remember what song it is that he says this, but it resonated with me hella hard when he said this. If God knows us all, therefore he understands. No matter what you have done, the decisions that you made, the path we chose for ourselves, we are human. We are human to make mistakes. We are human to make decisions. You either learn from your decisions and you learn from your mistakes, and you make sure that you keep up with the decisions that you want to do. If it feels like a mistake, you will learn from that mistake, so on and so forth. If it is something that you are just consistently keep doing, you'll notice it eventually, and you'll probably end up breaking out of that cycle, or you might not. It all depends. This next one is actually from another song, from Nick Caution's Cover Your Wounds, and I do resonate with this one because this is actually fairly interesting. I think that we live simultaneously on 3 planes of understanding. We're spiritual creatures, we have an intellect, and we live in physical bodies. But because we lack awareness or understanding of who we are totally locked into a physical world and we let things outside of us control us. 95% of the population are reacting to life. They're not really living life at all. And that's from a guy called Bob Proctor. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it. But yeah. So like I said, I hope you guys found this very interesting. It definitely is a lot of these things that I have definitely taken into consideration for myself. The good moral things, the good moral aspects. You believe whatever you want to believe. I'm not here to control you about that. I'm not here to tell you that you should or you should not do it, because if you find strength, confidence, faith, whatever it is, if it gives you comfort, that's all that matters to me. So